Cheryl Lindo at Richmond, 27th of March, 1995.
You went to shopping.
Yeah. Cheryl, you grew up in Woolloomooloo?
I was born at Quakers Hill, and then I went to Woolloomooloo when I was 11.
Oh, right. And how long did you live there for?
I lived there till I was 21, and then I got married and moved. So that was good.
Yeah. Well, what are your earliest memories of life there? Well, why did your parents go to Woolloomooloo from Quakers Hill?
Well, we had the sandwich shop down there, which was opposite the Frisco. It's now an art shop. You know that art shop that was opposite where we went?
The Frisco Hotel?
Yeah, there was a little art shop there on the corner where we had the sandwich shop in there, which... You right?
Stop. So your parents had the sandwich shop?
Yeah, and we had all the wharfies would come in and all around Garden Hole and the wharves and that would come in, get lunch and that there. And I worked in there, and all the locals would come in, so that type of thing. Yeah.
Be a good way to get to know everybody in the neighbourhood.
Yeah, well, I knew most of them from the playground the first couple of days I was there, and because that's where all the kids hung out. You just went to the playground and we had everything there, and that's where all the kids were. So I knew a lot of them from, it didn't take long to make friends because they had all the activities there, which painting, physical culture, basketball, all that type of stuff. We used to have clay work and pottery and all that, so it didn't take long.
What year was it that you moved there?
Giving age away. 49, so it would have been about 50.
1950? And so you were born in what,
49. No, that'd be 60.
Yeah, sorry.
60.
So you were born in 1949
49.
and you would have moved to Woolloomooloo in 1960?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the 60s would have been an exciting time down there.
I know, we're always pretty exciting time down Woolloomooloo. We've always had something to do. Few of the girls were the trendsetters in the clothes-wise, so, they go into all the thing, and then, because we'd all follow suit type of thing, different coloured shoelaces to match the jumpers and all that, all different type of clothes. And, but mostly it was just shorts and T-shirts, that type of stuff.
Where were you? Did you have brothers and sisters?
I had an elder brother and an elder sister.
So you were the youngest?
Yeah. But they didn't really have much to do with the playground. They had their friends outside, mainly.
And did you live above the shop?
Yeah.
Oh, how was that? How big was it? Can you describe where you lived?
Well, we had the shop was on the bottom floor, and then you went up the steps, and then you had like a lounge room, one big room, which was the lounge room, dining room, and my brother's bedroom all into one. And then you had 2 bedrooms, which Mum and Dad's and my sister and I in the other one. So it wasn't very big, but it sort of really didn't, well, as kids we didn't worry about it. So Mum didn't like it there, but she owned a house, but we didn't worry about it. So it was all right, because we had the balcony from the shop. We'd go out and everyone come up and sunbake there, and Dad would go away for a weekend, so all the kids would come in and we'd have a party and, all that. You might have heard them when we were talking about the parties. Down the shop, they'd all come in and raid the Mars bars and everything else.
Well, what kind of a kid were you?
Me? Tomboy. I don't know, average, I suppose. Just an average kid.
Well, when you were going there, when you went there at 11, were you apprehensive about being accepted, or did you already have family in the area or know anybody in the area?
No, I didn't know anyone. Dad had the shop for about 6 months before we moved from Quakers Hill down there. But we didn't know anyone. But no, it never worried me.
And when you got there, were you readily accepted by the other kids?
Yeah, no problems, yeah. Because we all went to school and, as I say, everyone back to the playground. So the playground was a big icebreaker, I suppose. It didn't take long for a new kid to arrive before they were involved in things and knew people. So the other kids, that never had to worry, never worried about that. Yeah. Once you got near 'em, once you could play netball and all that type of stuff, you're in. So,
And who was running the playground at that time?
Miss Straughan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else who worked there?
Oh gee, who we have? I think we have Mr. Rose. He was wonderful. And we had can't think of her name. Oh, we had a tiny little one. I can't think of her name. No, but we had quite a few. And then because Kevin and Kay, Ryan, Kevin and Kay were there for a long time, and Mr. Rosenfeld
And did the teachers take special care of new kids or to integrate them, or?
Oh yeah, they were really good. Like we had the girls section, the boys section, and you weren't definitely not allowed down the boys section. That was it. You're in trouble, unless we were going to play basketball, or unless the boys were going to train with us for our netball. Then we could go down and play tennis. We could go down, but the teachers were sort of just involved in everything. They coached us and looked after us and kept us off the streets, which is what the playground should be.
Who ran the playground?
Miss Straughan.
But was that funded by who?
Oh, that would have been council. I presume it would have been council, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so how would you describe your family?
My family. Good, no worries. Nothing, the normal fights with the sisters and the brothers, which is what goes on everywhere. Mum was very quiet. Dad was boss. I mean, we used to think he was hard, but, when you get older, you have your own kids and appreciate your own parents. Dad was fair, but strict. If he said no, that was it. And if he said, no, you did it, you caught one good wallop, and that was the end of it. And, none of this go to your room or you're grounded or anything like that, just one good slap on the backside, and that was the end of it, and you just didn't do it a second time. I mean, I was lucky in a way, or unlucky, I suppose, which way I look at it. I had Dad in the shop all the time. He was with us 24 hours a day. I mean, I was married and had a 2-year-old child before my father went out to work, and it was so funny because we all just stood there and waved. It's the first time we've seen Dad go to work because we've always had a shop, and he's always been there, which I suppose a lot of kids don't see their dads in that respect. By the time they get home from work and the kids are ready for bed, whereas my dad was just there all the time.
Who controlled the finances in your family?
I wouldn't have the faintest idea. I wouldn't. Like we never worried about that. My mum died when I was 16, so when Mum died, it was sort of, we had a box, kitty type thing. We all put our board in, and I used to do the shopping, the butchers and that type of stuff, and I just took money out of that.
What happened to your mum that she died?
Mum had a cerebral hemorrhage.
Gee.
So,
just sudden.
Yeah. There one day, gone the next. So,
God.
So that was that. But that was good. Like the friends down the loo, they were really good. So that helped a lot.
And how did they help and support?
Just be there. Like Miss Straughan was down. The next morning, as soon as she heard about it, she was down. Friends were around and things like that. They were just there. So,
That's pretty nice to have that community.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. You didn't, here I've been here 5 months, I wouldn't even know. I've said hello to the neighbours once, and that's been it. Whereas down there, you just knew everybody, so anything was wrong, you always had someone's door that you could knock on, or, someone was close to know there was something wrong that would just be close enough to say, right, what's wrong, and come in, that type of thing. So that was good.
Were your parents religious?
No, when I say religious, you didn't go to church every Sunday. We went to Sunday school every Sunday, and church when we got older. And then when we turned 15, Mum said, right, you can either keep going to church or whatever. So, of course, why go to church when you can go Bondi Beach? So that's where we went. But that was sort of it. Mum just sort of, okay, you're 15 now, you can make up your own minds. As we've had the basics, and I suppose now with my own kids, it's the same thing. You install the principles in them when they're younger, and it sort of sticks all the way through anyway.
And what denomination was it?
Presbyterian.
Yeah. Well, and what was the Presbyterian church around there?
No, we used to go to, in town. Can't even think of the name of that. Yeah, in town, big church there.
Oh, right.
St Andrews.
Oh, right.
We used to go in there.
What about politics? Did your parents ever discuss politics at home?
No.
So you never heard them cursing and swearing about politicians, or?
No. That's why. I mean, if they did, we most probably didn't take any notice.
So you weren't aware of any of the political issues of the time?
No, the major thing was John Kennedy got shot.
Yeah, because we'd be talking for you in the 60s. It was really when you can remember, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, Vietnam was a big thing. Subscription and that, which luckily my brother missed out on. I remember Mum being worried sick about that.
That he'd get conscripted?
She was worried about that, but he was all right on that. A couple of boyfriends went overseas, but I mean, you saw it on telly, the riots and things like that, but no, we never really paid that much attention to actual politics.
What impact did the Vietnam War have on any of the locals?
The locals, I don't think any of them went.
What about the impact of the troopships and the R&R and all that?
Oh yeah, they'd all come in, we'd all go up Whisky Au Go Go, or the R&R would be in, up Whisky Au Go Go, and have dance partners, so we were right. Of course you saw them everywhere around the cross, everywhere. But I suppose money-wise it was good for the cross and things like that.
What about for
Woolloomooloo? They had the
Woolloomooloo?
marches. For Woolloomooloo, it really didn't affect Woolloomooloo in itself. I mean, you get more people down there, going around to have a look at Garden Island when the boats come in and that type of stuff. But as for Woolloomooloo itself, no, it didn't affect that at all.
What a minute ago you mentioned marches. What are you referring to?
When they came back and docked at Garden Island, they marched all the way around Cooper Wharf Road and all the way around there and down into town.
Who did? The Australians or?
Yeah.
Every time they came back?
No, not every time. I can remember once because a friend of mine who did live at Woolloomooloo, her boyfriend was going, and they marched down to Garden Island. That's the only one I can remember.
Oh, they marched to the boat?
To the boat, yeah, not back to, yeah. And that was the only one I can remember because we went round to see George. But I think that was about it, really.
Wouldn't there have been brothels and what have you set up down there in order to service all the Americans? And
Oh, I think you mostly would have had them all up the cross. They were up around further. You had some around Crown Street and up there, but not actually down Nicholson Street where our area was. They were sort of set up around further.
is it because that was just much more of a residential area there, or?
It was all residential, but I mean the cross itself was, well, that's where they all headed for. As soon as you got off the boat, you straight up the cross. But no, we didn't have many just around our local area. Just out of the main part of Woolloomooloo, you had some. Up a bit further up past Cathedral Street, you had some. Because the major one was Chapel Street, which was up over William Street. And of course that was the big one there.
What was that called?
Chapel Street.
It didn't have a name.
No, just Chapel Street. You mentioned Chapel Street and everyone knew what you were talking about. Yeah, I mean we got there one Saturday afternoon coming home from netball to run through there with our netball skirts. So a couple of us flew through them because the alleyway was just full of guys all waiting for the girls to come out. Charged through, ran through there, real brave. I think we were about 14 or something. But But that was the main place, Chapel Street then, in King's Cross.
Mm.
But otherwise, I mean, we never got hassled. You could walk the streets at, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and you never ever got hassled, I mean, if you went round, you're waiting for a bus along Cooper Wharf Road, and you get the ones driving past and yell out how much, you just say, 2D, keep going. But as for any other part of the loo, no, we never got hassled.
Mm. And do you think that the loo's changed now in terms of that? And
Yes.
well, what brought about that change in terms of, like walking around the streets and being safe at night and all that?
I think that the way they've designed it now, put them all the malls in the gardens and things like that. I mean, we never had the bars on doors, and I mean, you could sit there and have the door open and watch telly, and it didn't worry anyone, But now, when I went down last month, it was just, bars on all the doors and on the windows and the back windows, and the malls, I think, have caused a lot of problems. I mean, you've got your drugs, well, which we didn't have.
Even in the 60s?
We weren't brought up with drugs. And, unless you went to uni, that was about the only time you heard of it. But we never heard of it.
Mm.
Marijuana, the closest we got to that, I think I was 19. One of the guys said he had a funny cigarette. I didn't know what he was talking about, because we never had it. We weren't interested in it. We didn't know about it. And we didn't know anyone who was, into that.
Mm.
And, I mean, alcohol was the biggest thing, but we never sort of went overboard on that department either, But now, I mean, alcohol and the drugs down there they can't sit there with their doors open. They've got to put bars on them and things like that, which is a crime in society. Really, I think that's a big shame. I was really stunned when I saw that, earlier on, because a couple of years ago it wasn't there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just really recent.
Yeah, it's only just been the last 12 months they put all the bars on.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah. Were you expected to contribute toward the family? Were you expected to work in the shop?
When I left school, I worked in town in an office, and then I worked up the Chevron. But then when Mum died, I went into the shop, which was good, because I didn't like the office work anyway. And, you spend half your time saying, oh no, I don't want to go, and when you got there, you want to get home. But once I was in the shop, I was fine. I didn't like the office work. But which was good, because you just had everyone. We had the Navy stores, the printers, and Lober's car parts, and tyre place, and everything else. They all came in the shop. And now every Christmas, when they're having their Christmas do, come on, Cheryl, we're going around the Astor. So off we go around the Astor, or we're going over the Frisco. And the guys always came and got me, and off we went to somewhere or other, and it was just great. The officers would come over and, come on, Cheryl, we're going over to the pub. Come and have a drink with us. Okay. So it was good.
Yeah. What did the family do for fun? Did your family ever do things together?
Together? Golf. Dad's a mad golf fanatic, and my brother used to go to golf with him all the time. Mum used to go, and every now and again we'd have a family, all the aunties and uncles and things like that, and off we'd go and have golf. Mainly because we had the domain pool around the corner, and I mainly went there. I used to do the swimming there, but it was golf and, just relatives type thing.
Would your shop have been open like 7 days a week?
No, only Monday to Friday.
What sort of shop was it?
Sandwich shop.
Oh, right. So it wasn't a corner store in the sense of...
No.
Of mixed
business. That was up the road.
Yeah. Oh, right. Did your dad like having a shop? Your mum and dad like having a shop?
Yeah, when we were kids at Quakers Hill, Dad had the shop there. We had the grocery shop at Quakers Hill. And then we sold that, and that's how we got to Woolloomooloo. So Dad's always worked for himself. He's only just retired this year. He's 74.
Yes.
He's always worked for himself.
Well, what can you describe your mother's working day?
Mum worked in the shop, so she'd be there to get things ready, and then, because we go off to school, and Mum would work till morning tea time, and then come downstairs when it got busy, about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then she'd work through till about 2, and then the shop closed at 2:30.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, they were open at 6:30. We used to open 6 o'clock. We'd open, so Mum was sort of getting everything ready, and she'd have her breaks during the day, and if it was quiet, because it all depended on what boats were coming into the wharves, and if there wasn't any boats, well, it really wasn't that busy. So Mum would just have a day in town, or go and meet my older sister and have lunch and something like that.
And was your mother responsible for the housework in the house?
Oh yeah. Like most kids, Mum will do it. You didn't do a thing. So, they won't make a bed or anything. That was Mum's department, so you didn't do it.
Well, with your dad staying at home and working in the shop and running the shop, did he also help in domestic duties in the house?
No.
But he could make sandwiches in the shop.
Oh yeah, and he'd do the dishes in the shop too, yes, but otherwise, no. Mum did the cooking, and my brother, sister and I did the washing up, and him and Mum watched the news or whatever, and that was it. We were in charge of that, and then it was sort of homework, and I'll be off up the playground, or my sister was doing dancing, she'd go dancing, and brother was out or something. But we couldn't sort of go anywhere until our jobs were done. Like the dishes and that were all done up.
Well, between your mother and your father, was it an equitable division of labour, do you think?
I don't think that exists, does it? I think the woman always does more.
Do you reckon your mum did more?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think any woman with kids who works does more than the husband. Unless you've got a good husband. I mean, lucky to have a good husband in that way. But yeah, I think any woman who works and has kids does a lot more.
Were there a lot of kids in the neighbourhood?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was the size of the average family?
We went to Mrs. Harrison, who had 7. They had the different nationalities, like the Italians and that. And
did they have a lot of kids, did they?
Not really, but we go from 3 to 5, basically 3, 4.
Well, what was the ethnic mix of the neighbourhood?
Mostly Italians, Australians. That was it mainly.
Any Kooris?
You had.
Sorry? Any Kooris, Aboriginal people?
Just the old one or two. That was it. But you didn't worry about it. Like today, they see them walking down the street and the kids would say something to them. You didn't worry about it. They were just there, and they were your mates, and or in your team or whatever. You just didn't worry about them. As for calling them, wogs and all that type of stuff, no, we didn't.
Well, who were your friends?
Mine? Well, we had Judy. We want last names here?
If you want.
We had Judy McKinnon, Jenny Ellison. We still all call each other by our maiden names. Like there was Chris, Joy, Colleen.
What were their last names?
Colleen Rainey, Joy Harrison, Judy McKinnon.
Chris?
Chris Ryan. You met Chris. She ran the playground. Kevin and Kay's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris. There was always a whole crowd of us. God, I have to look at the photos now.
Well, what did you do together?
Mainly fizzy and basketball and go around town.
What's this fizzy?
Physical culture.
Tell us about that.
Physical culture. Well, Miss Straughan had all the different age groups from grandparents right down to toddlers, and it was a form of exercise, and we do marching and figure marching and all that. And then we'd have a show on at the playground, and we'd have a special thing, like one year we had the alley cat, which you most probably heard us talking about too. That was great. And they had the Harry Lime theme. That was the elder lot. Had Harry Lime theme one day. We had the stool drill and all that. And each year we would have the exhibition at the playground. And then we'd also have the exhibition at Health Week at the town hall. And we'd go down there and do it down there.
Mm.
So, and then we'd have competitions against other suburbs.
Mm.
And we'd have that and try out for all that. And then you see one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone seems so enthusiastic about it.
Because we didn't worry about anything. You know, like I've got a 15-year-old. I can't do that. Mum, it gives me stress. I mean, we wouldn't have known what stress was at their age. No way. Because we always had something. Sundays the playground didn't open until 2 o'clock. Okay, while we're waiting for the playground, we play Hares and Hounds and go all the way through the botanical gardens, the art gallery, the museum, all the way through town. And that would take us nearly all day, you know. And
what's Hares and Hounds?
Hares and Hounds, we had the girls and you had chalk and off you went. The boys would give you a 15-minute start and you'd mark an arrow on the footpath or on walls or whatever, and you'd send a couple of girls off to lead a false trail so the guys would go that way, and then the boys would come after you. And if the boys caught you before you got back to the playground, it was the first one back to the playground. You had to beat them back. Just things like that, you know. But it used to take us, we'd be gone for hours, but we'd have a ball. I mean, that's why we never got into trouble, because we always had things to do. We could make up our own fun, and if the playground was closed, it was the telephone box outside the playground. That was the meeting place, and we'd all sit round there and talk and things like. Even when we got older and the playground was shut, if we were going to go out, everyone met at the telephone box. But that telephone box was never vandalised. It was always working. You know, I mean, that was right through until we were 19.
Hmm.
You know, if we're going anywhere, everyone met at the telephone box. So it was just, you weren't bored. You weren't stuck for things to do. We had the pool, which was open all year round then, because that was just netted off in the harbour. It wasn't like it is now, Olympic pool. And it was open all year round. We'd do winter swimming, diving, go through the oil slicks and the jellyfish and throw them over the side of the fence as you're swimming along. You didn't worry about it.
Was it all in the pool?
Yeah.
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 When did it become... Did it ever become to a point where you didn't want to swim in it because of pollution in the harbour?
No. Actually, I think there was quite a few when they made it the concrete pool and everything else were quite sad. I know when we went down, I mean, it was nice to start off with, but then it didn't have the same thing as the old domain bars, you know. We used to have the table tennis upstairs, go up there and swim winter comps, and then we'd go up and play table tennis upstairs at the pool. You know, it was always the thrill of how so you could go down the furthest and touch the bottom at high tide and all this, and swim along. You'd be swimming in this water and you'd have a, you know, like where we'd all lie down in a walkway and there was water underneath it, but you would swim in the middle there. But who was going to go underneath near the net in case a shark got you? You know, we come down one day, shark in pool, no swimming.
Was there really sharks there? So
yeah.
it wasn't... Was it just netted off from the harbour?
Yeah, it was just netted off. Yeah.
And how far did the net go down? Just a little...
Oh no, it'd go down, but there'd be a hole in the net and the shark got in. I think it was only once or twice, I think that was about it. But it was a big deal, you know, shark in pool.
Hmm.
And then you'd have the Christmas tide, because it would come right up, and it would come right up over where we'd walk in and right up the steps, the Christmas tide. And you couldn't get in because the Christmas tide would come up so high.
Did that only happen at Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas tide. So, you know, it just didn't have the same.
Mm.
So,
you must have seen the water side. The waterfront there looks really dead, like nothing happened there, from what I can see. Did you see that change? I mean, were you there when ships used to come into the Finger
Wharf? Oh yeah,
Wharf?
we had the Oriana there and the Star, what's the name?
Fair Star.
Fair Star. and its sister ship, which was something else.
So you knew it as an active commercial
Oh, yeah.
wharf, whereas
Yeah.
now the only thing in the area is the Navy. Bit up the way.
Yeah, Garden Island's taken all that over. Has come all the way up.
When did you see that change, the wharves?
Well, that was after I left.
When did you leave?
I left, what was I, 21?
70s?
Mm,
Early 70s?
early 70s. I left Woolloomooloo. But no, we used to have the ships come in. I mean, we used to know the purser on the ship. He'd pick us up, and when he'd come in the next time, because, oh yeah, go on, you can go through the ships, so we go all over the ships and everything.
When you were kids?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there you go, and off you go. And we had this one, don't know his name, Ted, I think his name was. And he came round, he said, right, next time I come into port, we'll pick you up and we'll go over to Manly. So anyway, Ted came in, rightio, we'll be round tomorrow to pick you up and we'll go to Manly. Because and he comes with this big Panama hat and, you know, the shorts, so typical American, you know, the long socks and the striped shirt and everything else with the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Well, that was it. Got instantly sick, couldn't go. The look of him, that was it. I'm not going to be seen with you. But a few of them went over with him and had a great day.
So he took out a whole bunch of kids?
Yeah. You know, we used to just go all over the ship. They'd show us around.
And they'd come in so often you just get to know them?
Yeah. So they were good. And the Oriana, of course, being the biggest one, that was a...
Would most of the people then, when you were growing up there, would most of the kids that you knew, did their parents have wharf associated or jobs associated with the wharf?
Yeah. Well, Billy Corbett worked on the wharves. Louis Zammit. A lot of them worked down there on the wharves, and they would come in and get lunch and that. Because Garden Island at the time, the Frisco had the Frisco Flyer, and it would an old bus, you know, poor old thing. It would go down to Garden Island and pick the guys up and bring them back so they could have a couple of drinks and have lunch and that at the pub, which was a roaring success, you know, because then they could have their drink and not get into trouble for getting back to work late. And then they take everyone back on the bus and they'd all pile back on this old beaten up old truck and take them back down to Garden Island again. So they used to think that was great. Because we had Harry DeWheels down there.
Did you know him?
No. I mean, we used to go there, but not much.
Was he a local?
I wouldn't have the faintest idea. I don't think so. I don't know where he came from. We never sort of went round there a lot. I mean, only if we were just wandering around or whatever.
Is that more a tourist thing?
Yeah.
Or even then?
Yeah, always has been. Always has been Harry DeWheels.
Yeah.
Famous for his pies and peas. Yeah.
But it wasn't something that the locals...
No, not really. I mean, going to the cross, you always went to Harry's for, you know, get pies and peas.
Oh, right.
That type of thing, and it was a big thing. The Navy.
No. Can you remember any local characters? You know, identities?
Local characters. Miss Straughan. She, as I said before, just wonderful. Kept everyone on their toes, and I mean, even today, you know, you got some of the guys that come into the reunion, you know, here they are nearly 50 and petrified of seeing this 4'9" Miss Straughan again. You know, they run businesses, some of them, and absolutely petrified of running into her. You know, but the respect that she had was enormous. From all the kids. I mean, even the other boys wouldn't let some of the boys call her Strawny like they used to. You know, no, it's Miss Straughan. Things like that. They would jump on them. Our other characters. Of course, our wonderful Whack.
Oh, yeah.
He was a character.
I've heard about this Catwoman of Woolloomooloo. Was she around in your time?
Catwoman?
Well, you obviously don't know.
No, not Catwoman. We used to have Lizzie. Whistling Liz. She used to be, I don't even know where she came from, but she used to come down and, because I think she was, Whistling Lizzie. I don't know where she came from, but she used to come down and go to the Frisco, and I don't know whether it was metho she drank, but I know it wasn't beer. She used to be on something. And she'd come down and she'd be whistling all the time. I mean, she was always happy. She never saw angry or anything. She'd stand out in the middle of the street and direct the traffic. And, she did that for years. Nearly 2-3 times a week, Lizzie be down. And I don't even know whether Lizzie was a real name, but it was just something she picked up, and it was always Whistling Lizzie. And then she'd just be down there and direct the traffic for half an hour, and no one ever minded. They never went crook on her or abused her. And then she'd just whistle away up the street again, and then I don't know what happened to her. She just didn't turn up anymore. We used to have a lot of, not so much characters, but we used to have some Aborigines that would come down, the Mythos that would come down, go to the pub. But then the fellow who ran the pub then, June and Liz, he was absolutely fantastic. You know, they'd walk in one door and he'd walk around the other door with arms around them, talking to them, walking them up the street. And then eventually they sort of just didn't come back. But he didn't kick them out, you know, he would just took them and spoke to them, and it was really good that way. So we really didn't have a lot of trouble. We'd have a few fights over the road. We'd have them down there in the Rolls Royces and fur coats and tuxedos, sitting outside in the gutter with the drunks waiting for the early opener on a Saturday morning after they'd been out on a Friday night. They'd all be sitting out there, and that was a regular thing on the Saturday morning at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, to see all the fancy cars and the fur coats and all that turn up. But as for other special ones, no, I think Lizzie was really the only one I can remember.
Can you remember the change of the wharf from being sort of a thriving, sort of active wharf to it, sort of its demise? Is that?
Not really. No. We didn't have a lot of the ships come in that used to come in. Passenger ships. They got moved sort of over to one of the other docks and that. But they didn't get them like they used to when we first moved down there. And then it just gradually peaked out. So I don't know why. But that was sort of after I left. So.
Where did most of your friends' parents work?
Well, Judy's dad worked on the wharves. Where Joy's dad worked, isn't it terrible?
That's okay.
He worked with the wool, in the wool sheds there. I can't remember.
When you were with your friends, can you remember any adventures that you had?
Adventures.
How far would you roam, you know?
Oh, everywhere.
You were completely free.
Catch on the train, go Bundina. Yeah. You know, we all just went in a group and we'd just go anywhere. Bondi, Coogee and Palm Beach, whatever. Yeah.
At what age?
What age? Oh, would have been 16. Like that. Yeah.
What about when you were younger? I mean, there must have been places where young kids could get into trouble down there.
Well, I didn't know about it because I didn't. No, I suppose there was, but I suppose we could have got into a hell of a lot of trouble if we hadn't have been so connected to the playground.
Right. Yeah. Were there places that you were not allowed to go?
Not allowed to go? No. We could go through the cross. You could walk through the cross those days. You could walk through there, 10 o'clock. I'm talking 14, 15-year-old kids. We could walk through there and never get hassled, and walk down the back streets of Woolloomooloo and never get hassled. We could do that. But now you'd be flat out trying to walk through the cross.
Yeah. So where did you go to school?
I went to school at Plunkett Street. I did 5th and 6th class at Plunkett Street. And then high school, we went to Darlow's Girl High School, Darlinghurst High.
And what was your school experience like? You know, how was it?
School, Normal, same as today with the kids. You know, you had your set classes and your routines, and
Were you treated well?
Yeah. I was 6th class at Plunkett Street. We had a very strict headmaster. He was our teacher. He was very strict, you know, so I got photo of him there. You know, give you the evil eye, and, you know, you didn't muck up on him. He was very strict. He was a good teacher, but, you know, he was very... Well, we thought he was very mean-looking. We used to have the odd playground fights and, you know, things like that, but nothing much.
Did you get any sex education, either at home or at school?
No, we didn't. Not at school, not at home.
Well, so what happened when you started to menstruate? Were you expecting it, or?
Mum had given me a book. That was about it, really. So much for that. Oh, we did have the movie on at school when we were in high school.
And what did they they didn't really tell you that much, did they?
No. I mean, by high school it was too late anyway most of the time. Whereas now they have it in 6th class. When my boys went to high school, they had the sex education in 6th class. I mean, it's for those things, but as for sex itself, I think the kids know too much too soon now. And that's part of the problem.
I've interviewed a lot of women that didn't know what was happening to them.
No, I'd read the book. I had an older sister. But that was it. I mean, sex education, basically what we heard around the playground, you know.
Was that a pretty informative kind of environment there, was it?
I mean, not the boys never spoke that much about it, but just the odd things, you know, pick up and what's this? But, I mean, you wouldn't ask. You didn't ask what they were talking about. You just sort of had to wait and put 2 and 2 together. So, that type of stuff. And, I mean, the girls, we never... That's why I say, like, we were 15, 16, and you just weren't worried about it. You were just busy doing other things.
You know, when you were at school, do you remember any rituals like, well, they had Anzac Day, and presumably you would have done... Did you do marching or...?
Yeah, we had our Anzac Day.
Well, can you remember any other ritual sort of things like Empire Day? Or no, did they have that then? Or Arbor Day? Or
well, we used to have the Blessing of the Fleet Day.
Oh, tell us about that.
That was with the Italians and their fishing boats, and they would be all down the wharves, and they would all go down there, and their priests and everything else, and bless the fleets. And then they would all come up to the playground. They booked the playground out completely on the Sunday. And they would come up and they'd have a statue of Jesus or Mary on the thing they'd carry up, because the whole street is just packed. You know, they'd be dancing and everything else. And a big procession, they'd close the roads off. The police would be there and close the roads off and everything else. Because you'd have the statue with all these bills all stuck to it. You know, they'd go up and throw money on it, and you know, $100 bills and $50 bills and 20s, nothing. That would just be all go on it. They go up the playground and they would have spaghetti eating competitions and dancing and all these other games and all that type of stuff. And that would go, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And but that was good. That was a big thing down the loop.
The whole community get involved in that, or only the Italians?
I mean, some did, but it was mostly the fishing lot. Yeah, the Italians with their fishing and things like that, which was what they all did down there, the Italians.
And were the Italians and the fishing fleet there for all the time that you were there? Like when you left, they were still there, and that fleet was still going out of Woolloomooloo Bay. They still have
the blessing of the fleet. They still have it.
Now? But yeah, but you don't have the Italian fleet going out of the harbour now.
I don't. Yes, you do.
Out of Woolloomooloo?
Yeah. Kay and Kevin did it last year. Went out on one of the guys' boats.
But do they regularly have a... Yeah, no, not just that one day. But the Italian fishing fleet is no longer based at Woolloomooloo, is it?
Oh, that I don't know.
Right.
Whether they're actually based there, I don't know. I think Kay said they left from Darling Harbour, but they could have just been picked up there. Yeah. So I'm not too sure. But they still have the blessing of it.
Can you remember any other rituals?
Apart from our normal public holidays.
Well, what were the public holidays?
Our normal public, like as you said, Anzac Day. Yeah, we used to go into town and watch the Anzac March and come down through the Domain and down there. Yeah, we watch all that. I think that was, oh no, they used to have another one. Oh, what was it? David Jones, and that used to have a parade, but I can't remember what that was. But they used to have a parade in town. Christmas time was always good in town. David Jones Farmers, and that they used to have their windows done up absolutely beautiful. All fairy tale things. I mean, they're not as good as what they used to be now. But David Jones used to have a special one, a special parade, but I can't remember what it was.
Would you describe the neighbourhood as residential, industrial, or mixed? What would you mixed?
Mixed. Yeah, you had your Navy stores, your printers, you had your Commonwealth cars, you had the Navy trucks, which is now where the school is. You had that in there. You'd have your tyre factories. The tyre factory, the Navy stores, and the printing place were all opposite our place virtually, you know, so yeah, it was all mixed.
What smells can you remember?
Smells, the tyre factory. Well, I say a factory, it was sort of Goodgie Tyres or whatever the name of it was. It was that smells. That's a good one. I think the one would be walking up the playground, and we had some Italian families living there, Jimmy and them. Yeah, outside their place, because Mum was always cooking.
Nice food smells?
Yeah, it was sort of different, you know, because it was Italian food, things like that, yeah. Different.
Where did most people shop?
Shop? King's Cross. You go up to Woolworths or Franklin's or whatever up at King's Cross.
Really?
Yeah. And for grocery shoppings, as for clothes, either town or King's Cross.
What were the most popular newspapers?
God, they've changed the name since then. Oh, I don't even think I looked at a newspaper when I was a teenager.
Okay, what about magazines?
Magazine? Oh, definitely the movie stars, you know, where you had the full page, you tear them out and stick them up on the wall.
Well, who
didn't
are your
have wallpaper,
favourite?
you had all them.
Who were your favourite movie stars?
Movie stars? Oh, of course, Elvis. You had to go for him. Then we'd have all our singers and that pinned up. I mean, I love Cary Grant and all those ones. I like all the old ones.
And who were the favourite singers?
Singers? Oh, Bobby Rydell, Jean Pitney and Searchers, Brian Poole and the Tremolos, all the old group that were just out not long ago, and I missed them, and I reckon it was the best show ever. You know, all those are old ones, yeah.
Did you go to the cinema much?
Yeah, we used to go all the time.
And what movies can you remember seeing?
Ben-Hur, My Fair Lady. What else? Paint Your Wagons. Of course, Sound of Music. Definitely Sound of Music. I must have saw that 11 times. All those type things, yeah.
What songs can you remember?
Songs. Oh, songs. Oh, it's a shame you haven't got Margot here. We will do a demonstration. We used to go up the top of the playground and Cilla Black, which is now I've forgotten the name. Margot mentioned it the other week and I've forgotten it. We used to grab the end of the cord, you know, the extension cords, and we put the record on. We'd go up there and we'd mime away and pretend we were Cilla Black and all that type of stuff. Yeah. Oh no, you know, like we had Surf City. We had all that up there at the cross with Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs. And we used to go up there. Dinah Lee, all that. Yeah.
When you were younger, can you remember any jokes or tricks that you used to play as kids?
Jokes. Mostly Knock and Run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mostly that one. That was about it, really, I can think of.
What can you remember of common illnesses?
Illnesses. No, apart from the cold, no,
Can you,
not really.
And deaths, you've mentioned your mother's death. Were there many parents dying in that from industrial accidents, or were there accidents or that kind of thing on the wharves?
No. Well, there was Jenny Allison. Mr. Allison died, but I don't really know what was wrong with Mr. Allison. Jimmy's mum died, but she was only young. But no, as for accident-wise, no, I don't remember any.
Were there a lot of cars around?
Cars? Not really. I mean, not compared to today. We could play hopscotch out in the middle of the road and wouldn't worry about that. We very rarely got worried about cars, apart from the ones the guys might have pinched and all that. We had a couple of those.
Was there much crime like that around?
We had the odd ones where a couple of guys up the road pinched a car and came down, took the corner too wide and smashed into Dad's car. That didn't go down too well. We had a few break-ins into the shop, but mostly after cigarettes. About that, just a couple of them go out and pinch a couple of cars.
Was there much crime at all? Not much.
Not really. No, we had the odd ones, but no, not really. No. It's, as I say, it was a pretty good place to grow up. I mean, it's not often, you go into places now and they've got security cameras and watching everything. We didn't have to worry about that.
And why did you leave?
Well, I got married. My husband wasn't from Woolloomooloo. He was a Bondi boy. And we just got a place at Stanmore and got out there, and then Dad sold the shop later on, and then we moved to Kingsford. So, and I just never went. I mean, I've been back, but not often.
Did you ever notice as a kid that there was any sort of social stigma about living in Woolloomooloo? Were there areas that looked down upon you, or were there areas that you looked down upon as being, too wild, too rough? Can you remember anything like that?
No, not really, because we used to have all the different playgrounds. We had St George Playground, we had Moore Park, Coronation Street, which was over near Central. The ones that, can't think of the name of that one either, Milson Point. So we sort of went from playground to playground as well, because we used to play basketball against them, and on Saturday mornings when we go around and play. So you're sort of travelling all round, and no, you really didn't worry about that either. I don't know, we're either all very naive, which might have been more the point. But no, you just, that's where you go and that's where you went, and you didn't worry about it. We had our Woolloomooloo song, which we used to sing, and don't ask me to sing it.
Go on.
No. You should have taped it the other week. I did. Which we used to sing walking down from Moore Park, coming home from basketball and things like that. But
sport was pretty big in your life, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the same with my boys. If they're involved in sport, you know where they are and you know what they're doing. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
Well, since I've left the week. So I love it. It's quite funny, but I look back at all the old teams. Yeah, I look back at all the old photos.
That's a good photo.
Stupid sitting here.
Just, can you pause it for a minute?
Somewhere. And then it had pom-poms all around the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And her cousin
Wasn't
Susan.
they terry toweling some of them?